call the public. Let's call this meeting to order. Big Bear Regional Wastewater Agency Special Board Meeting, December 13th, 2022. At this time, I'd like to ask Larry to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have a roll call?
Vice Chair Green,
Here.
Director Miller,
Here.
Director Moe, Director Walsh,
Here.
and Chair Herrick.
Here. Motion for approval of the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Objection? Do you need a roll call vote on this?
Vice Chair Green,
Aye.
Director Miller,
Aye.
Director Moe, Director Walsh,
Aye.
and Chair Herrick.
Aye. Public forum, public testimony is permitted only on matters listed on the posted agenda, public comment on items. Listed on the posted agenda will be taken at time. Each item is called for discussion. State law prohibits agency from taking any action on it's not listed on the posted agenda. Is going to be member public like to speak. Do you remember the public would like to speak? No. Okay. Let's see. Okay, presentations. This is 5A. Retirement agenda.
This is me. So here we go. Oh boy. So as most of you know, Jennifer McCullar will be leaving our agency at the end of the month. And lucky for us, she has agreed to continue to help us through the critical stages of the replenish process. I would like to recognize her accomplishments to this agency. She and I have been working together for nearly 6 years, and the things that most stand out to me are her attention to detail. Detail matters, and she knows that. Her knowledge and base and skill level in finance is something that most small agencies don't get the opportunity to experience. But we have been blessed to have her here. I always felt that I could count on her for the financial stability of the agency. I could bounce ideas off her, and she would give me feedback, which I really value. When it comes to procedures and past practices, I know she knows how to get stuff done. Her integrity and professionalism is exceptional. In all, I think the agency and I are better, and I am a better person to have worked with her. And so thank you, Jennifer. I wish you the very best in whatever you decide to do moving forward. So thank you for working with us.
Any board member like that?
Well, I just like thank you for, again, I think Dave kind of summed it up on your skills, and for somebody that's worked on the public side probably as long as you, I'm not too sure. Congratulations. My only suggestion to you is just you better hide for a while because you're going to get on the Big Bear Valley potential volunteers list, and you'll probably end up working harder there on those projects than you are here. But congratulations, and I just hope we can have you back for a few months out of the year.
Jennifer. There. Jennifer, I'm not what you would call a finance person. We've done a few loops, so I understand a lot of it, but I gotta say, you've always put very complicated matters together in such a way that it made sense. And to me, that's the sign of somebody who knows what they're doing. If you want to come talk to me about specific, technological stuff or something, or engineering things, okay, then, I can speak to that. But when it comes to finance, you always made it clear for me, and I appreciate that. It's been a lot of years, and we will miss you. Thank you.
Thank you, John. It was a lot to me. I think, trying to understand your audience's level to be able to formally educate the board. And have them walk away with something more than what they came with, always has been a goal of mine, and so I appreciate that. So, thank you very much.
Goal accomplished. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jennifer, I am kind of a finance guy, and I do understand it fairly well, and a great thing about you is that we understand each other. And when I ask questions, it's definitely not challenging you. You know that, you always have the answer, which is just wonderful. And so I can push hard sometimes, and I know that you can have the answers and gently push back, and we always come to a conclusion that is beneficial for Barbara, for the community. And you've done a tremendous job, and I really appreciate all the work that you've done. Same thing, you make it understandable, you make it easy. There's no going through things and questioning it that, based upon the work that you put out. But again, I'd like to dig a little bit deeper, as you know. So thank you very much for everything you've done for us.
Thank you, Rick. I was telling Christine before I came here, I've worked with Rick as long as I've been in Big Bear.
That's right.
It was 20 plus years, so different capacity. So it's been nice working with you. So, thank you.
Absolutely. Any other comments?
She gets only 2 days off.
That's it. Maybe.
It's changing slightly. Okay, let's move on to 5B. This is Ryan
I
Conley.
just want to say one more thing
Yes.
to the board in general. I just want to say I appreciate you for the service, being in that position, asking the questions, making staff be accountable. I think it's an extremely important function. That governance function in a small town, at a small agency, it couldn't be more important. So I appreciate that role, and I respect you for asking all the questions. And if you didn't, then there's where the concern would be. So anyway, I want to express that to you, and thank you very much. It's been a pleasure working with all of you.
Ryan Conley, 5-year recognition.
Ryan has to come up. So let me just read a little bit about Ryan before I get him up, and then I'll have him go up and get his pen. So Ryan Conley, the 5-year appreciation. Ryan is very valuable to our agency. He's always on time and willing to work. By the way, John wrote this stuff. Ryan is willing to work at all shifts and always willing to help out with projects and work assignments. Ryan works well with all staff members and gives a positive output. So Ryan, thank you for your 5 years of service.
Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate it. Okay, moving on to 6A, general manager's report.
Perfect. So 6A, one of the things I wanted to go over. We did go out to market for some short-term financing for the Replenish project. We received 5 bids, and the interest rate was from between 4.5 and 5%. Since this interest rate is higher than we expected, we reached out to DWP about possible partnering agency financing. It did seem like there was some interest in loaning Barwa some additional short-term financing, but ultimately the board decided to go to different investment strategies, their board. So during this slight delay, the market did shift and a more favorable rate is expected with a new bidding process that is currently underway. The bids are currently due on January 6th, with loan closing at our next board meeting in January. And that would be at the end of January. So, and I actually am available for any other questions about the general manager's report.
If you don't mind, Joe, Jen, with the loan itself, we'll get another bite at approval of the sample in the future.
That's correct. Yeah, all loans are approved by the board.
Okay. I want to make sure that we have all the, I'll call them agencies involved on board. one fashion or another before we move forward with any sort of a loan like that. I could see us in a position to pay back for something, for a project that I'll just call it a question mark until we actually get finalized with everybody on board. So that's my thought.
Perfect. I will make sure that we do that.
Tentatively, how much?
Right now, we are out for $2.7 million.
What was the loan amount? What were you going, what number were you going for, Dave, on the loan amount?
2.7 million.
2.7, okay.
That's that interim financing and basically the shortfall between our reimbursements from the grant and what we would need to take us out through basically to the beginning of construction.
What is the status with MWD and Pacific Air in the city? Sorry. What, just the partner agencies, what is the consensus, what's the status?
So DWP and CSD have both signed on to the letter of intent for contributions towards the project. MWD, last I spoke with MWD, they wanted to wait until their new board was set, and that happened on December 8th. I haven't heard from Mike yet. I'm expecting to get together with him and have a discussion about, where they, where he sees this moving, how he sees this project moving forward, and the level of support from them for the project overall. And then I guess that covers everybody.
Yeah,
Oh, and the city.
Pacific Air in the city.
Yeah, the city. So the city has not, I have sent a letter of intent because the TOT did pass. And that was kind of the teetering point. I know that just all got certified and that all got passed. So I would expect us to go in front of the city council to have that discussion with regard to the TOT and the commitment for that TOT going towards like the O&M basically moving forward. So I haven't had that discussion, but again, it's been just a few days since it's certified.
The other one was Visit Big Bear.
Visit Big Bear. So I have had a discussion with Visit Big Bear, but Michael, we were trying to get another meeting with his group. They have always supported the project. What's in front of them was the MOU, the benefit and beneficiaries MOU. There was nothing was in front of them as far as financial support. They have always expressed that their funding precluded them to put any money towards a capital project. That's what they've always told me. So again, it was really more of a beneficiaries MOU to recognize the fact that, them as the representative visitors do have a benefit from this project.
Okay. We'll move on now to the consent calendar. Motion for consent calendar.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Roll call.
I'm sorry, who was the second? Jim?
I couldn't tell.
Vice Chair Green?
Aye.
Director Miller?
Aye.
Director Moat?
Aye.
Director Walsh?
Aye.
And Chair Herrick?
Aye. No one has removed from the consent calendar. New business, item 10A, this resolution, the governing board. Basically, has to do with the Replenish project piloting and studying in the California sequel.
Yeah, I'm gonna let Bridget take this one.
The Replenish Bigger piloting study will demonstrate process performance of the proposed treatment process for the upgraded wastewater treatment plant. It entails rented skid and trailer mounted treatment processes that will treat approximately 1% of our effluent flow, or 20 gallons per minute. We evaluated the project in light of the standards for environmental review outlined in CEQA and determined based on substantial evidence that the project will not result in potentially significant impacts on the environment, particularly since the project will be developed on highly disturbed Barwa-owned property. We also determined that the project is exempt from CEQA under a statutory exemption for feasibility and planning studies, which is section 15262, as well as the class 6 categorical exemption, which is section 15306.
Presentation, if we're available for any questions.
The only question I've got is regarding funding in this project. That's, I presume, in place right now with grants.
The funding for this project is in place with grants. We currently have about $16 million, $16.6 million, and the potential for another about between 7 and 8 million.
Any other questions?
I just have one quick, David. This is really comprehensive, and I'm assuming that we've got legal counsel's blessings on this. As legal counsel.
Oh, yes, the legal counsel reviewed this and approved this.
Okay.
But more importantly, have you read it?
I've read it.
Oh, Larry?
Larry, did you read it?
Yes.
Larry's always my go-to, finding the small issues.
Very well done job, by the
Yes.
way. That's better than I've ever done, so.
Larry, were there any issues with it? It's passed the muster.
So will you be here with them?
Yes, they have.
So what it works, okay, look at it.
Everybody looked at it and approved it.
Okay, good. Sure. Okay, any other discussion regarding this item? Motion for approval,
I'll move to approve.
Second.
second. Any other discussion, roll call.
Vice Chair Green,
Aye.
Director Miller,
Aye.
Director Moat,
Aye.
Director Walsh,
Aye.
and Chair Herrick.
Aye. Okay, 10B, appropriate request for sludge coated concrete floor, and John, are you taking this?
It's actually gonna be me.
Okay,
Okay, so we removed the old equipment from the sludge building. That equipment has been replaced in preparation for the pilot study for the Replenish project. We needed to repair some concrete flooring that's in there and to make a level concrete floor for the new equipment. The recommendation is to appropriate $30,000 for the floor repairs. I'm available for any questions.
any questions? Or,
Cap it or replace it?
It is, so there's part of it, part of the, what we call the DAP tank, or the tank that was in there, was dome shaped on the bottom. So when we removed it, the bottom was, there's a crevice in the bottom of the floor, so that has to be filled in. And so we'll be filling that, we'll be removing the balance of it to make it level and then filling it in.
Thank you.
Is this gonna be all done in-house?
No, it is not.
We'll be seeing some bids or?
We have bids, yes.
you have the lowest bid already?
We do.
Order.
It is not Ford. It is JP Montero with Bear Valley Paving.
Done tomorrow.
Any other questions? Okay, for motion then.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moving second. Discussion. Should ask public, if they would like to speak in the second. Smiles and giggles, so apparently not. Roll call please.
Vice Chair Green,
Aye.
Director Miller,
Aye.
Director Moat,
Aye.
Director Walsh,
Aye.
Chair Herrick.
Aye. 10C, it's an appropriation of $31,045 to rate study.
So last year, the board appropriated funds for the same period of time for a complete rate study. At the time, the direction was to limit the appropriation of Replenish bigger into that rate study. So if we're going to move forward with Replenish bigger, definitely need to do an update to the study. We would need to do your multi-year rate schedule would be developed. So in order to do that an update to the study to incorporate replenishment repair in there. We need to appropriate the $31,000 for the rate study and get started on it. So at this time, we're asking for appropriation.
So I'll start with the discussion. I think it's actually something we can pause on for the time being until we make sure that we have everybody on board. So I would be in favor of moving forward with the rate study at this time. I just need to feel a little more comfortable with the entire project. Before we appropriate that money, and there's several different reasons besides the money that we're spending on it. We're kind of guessing a little bit regarding the project. I don't want to do that. I don't want to put a number out in the public until we have a project that I know is going in a certain direction.
Yes, John.
The rate study, that's not specifically for O&M then? In other words, ongoing costs, this is
The
part
rate
of,
study would incorporate the full cost of replenishment repair, and so that would mean the debt service associated with that capital project. We want to borrow money for the project, and then also the ongoing costs, which are built in. Debt service and O&M that would be incorporated for replenishment repair rates.
so this rate study would encompass everything.
Yes, yeah, and it would need to be timing of the project.
Yeah, I just wanted to be clear on
Yeah.
it. Thank you.
Jennifer, just one quick question, it seems to me in the last rate study just really focused on what you had just talked about, including the cost of Replenish Big Bear. Did we, or have we looked at any alternatives? I mean, I think that was just one way of looking at it, but I mean, did we create any, or should we create, I guess, any scenarios such as, you know, participation from this agency or that agency or anything like that when we do the rate study, or is that even something that would be part of that rate study?
You're talking about capital
Cap-
contributions
yeah,
from
right.
other, beyond grant funding.
Right.
We've been looking at different scenarios with maximum grant funding since those dynamics changed. Once we received, you know, a portion of the federal grant, the 1.7 million we recently got, then we're eligible for probably up to 25% of the project costs. Those would be incorporated into that. So I think the last presentation we gave to the board, we were looking at potentially borrowing 50 million. That was assuming that 25% of the grant funding. Other sources of funding beyond debt and grants have not been assumed as far as capital contributions from outside agencies like the county or the city or anybody else. But those assumptions can be made. So, you know, if you calculate a rate and you're wanting to reduce it, then we can look at other opportunities for that. I think when we did the benefits MOU, we were really trying to flesh out what the opportunities were from project beneficiaries for making contributions to the project. But making capital contributions, meaning if they actually made a donation per se to the actual, you know, capital project, it would reduce the amount of debt we would have to borrow.
Right.
There are contributions expected for the ongoing O&M, and that was a reason for getting those letters of intent in place now before the rate study, so we can incorporate those contributions or those offsetting costs. I mean, their contributions are going to offset costs. So to get those letters of intent in place, so we can incorporate them into a rate study, that was kind of a timeline, and that's why they're being put in place now. So those could be incorporated when we get to the rate development process.
Okay, so they are considered in that rate study then as a potential.
They have not been. I mean, last year, just as a refresher, we just looked at the debt we would have to borrow this interim
Right.
period, this loan we're looking at now, and the amount of we would have to charge the debt service, so the principal and interest on that debt. So we just increased rates for that. So when we did the rate study, we didn't incorporate anything else into it. We did give the budget presentation, and we presented a slide that gives a 10-year look. And that was just based upon the debt, you know, the debt we were gonna have to borrow without capital contributions, and then the O&M contributions going forward. We kind of looked at a 10-year looking at that. We can do lots of different what ifs. I think it's important to get into that process. If we have a feasible project that we want to move forward with, to get into that process and try to tweak those rates and finesse the rates to a level that, you know, people are comfortable with.
I guess that's where I was headed, you know, it's just maybe we can look at some possible alternative scenarios that.
Yeah, it's important because with the WIFIA loan, this federal loan, which is our biggest opportunity for low cost financing for this project, it really contributes to the successfulness of this project. They would be looking for a rate schedule in place. So, you know, the timing of getting this rate schedule in place and the timing of that flipping along, it really does need to happen during this rate cycle, this budget development process, right, that's coming up.
So, and I agree with Rick, maybe we just pause on this, but have we written the scope of work on this project, Dave? Is it written?
Oh, yes.
So is that something that we could include or something the board would like to consider? If we expand that rate study a little bit to see what possible scenarios are out there?
We could definitely bring forward something as far as like the scope of work for the rate study itself. And what scenarios, I mean, we could definitely bring something forward to the board.
Or we could meet at the finance committee level, kind of flush that out in terms of, you know, what you're talking about, how you'd like to frame the rate study. I mean, that's an option.
Whatever is best for staff. I just didn't know, I mean, if we want to look at it in the January meeting or. is
If
it
the finance
agenda
committee
item or
wants to
just-
look at what the scope of work is for the rate study, we're more than happy to do that.
Either way. All right, thank you.
Is the March study too late?
What's the question? Is the March workshop too late?
To roll all this together? You want it done by February?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do need to present to the board the results of a rate study prior to a budget workshop. The real deadline is that we have to have a budget approved by May 1st. And so you're kind of working backwards from that. So the April board meeting, so anyway, working backwards from that, it would be ideal for the rate study to be completed and presented to the board February. And then the latest really for a workshop is that early March period. We are pushing it, so that's kind of, you know, the latest time frame.
But there could be a finance committee workshop between, say, now.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah.
Um,
There's time to do a finance committee meeting before, you know, initially when you, put in place an agreement with a rate consultant, they're gonna do a data request. And so they're just asking for a lot of your 5-year projections and your capital plans and the basics. And then they're gonna run a scenario. And then if you wanna change it up, you know, maybe you wanna change it up and let's say, you know, instead of borrowing 50 million, let's just see what it looks like if we borrow 40 million, because we really think if we beg, we can get $10 million from somebody else. You know what I mean? I understand beg, but, you know, is it feasible that we could end up with $10 million capital contribution? What's 40 million in debt service look like? We can definitely run those scenarios. It's not a problem. Not a problem. That's easy to do.
I'm still having a hard time with it. And primarily because we're still waiting for the Annual Water Quality Board to give us a full answer, which hasn't happened yet. I mean, there's so many variables that are playing into this right now. As a person who's been sitting here for over 16 years now and seeing a program come and go, start another one, and we're still have a bunch of question marks out there. Throw a number out there regarding the rate study to me just doesn't make sense at this point. I just don't see how we can proceed with it until we get some of these other things buttoned up. And once we get the buttoned up, I'm perfectly fine. I think we should go forward with it. And we might miss this next cycle, but I think this, but I don't think we will actually. So hopefully get everything's buttoned up relatively fast. Next 4 to 6, 8 weeks, we'll move forward with it.
Perfect.
Just putting this on pause, what does it do to the timeline for the full Replenish project?
I'm sorry, but I'm sorry.
Is there, no, that's okay, the microphone's not awesome today. What does the putting this on pause for right now do to the timeline for the full Replenish project?
Yeah, it doesn't really affect the full timeline of the actual project itself. What this would affect is just, you know, the rate study itself and probably the number of meetings we would have to have. It would accelerate the number of meetings we would have to have going forward to, if the board decided to incorporate the numbers into our overall budget. We would just have to accelerate the number of meetings in a shorter time frame going forward, you know, probably in that, you know, February, March time frame.
I don't quite
If there's an 8-week delay, it could be an issue. I mean, if there's an 8-week delay, it could be an issue in terms of getting rates in place.
Right, that's If we
If we
decide,
don't-
yeah,
If we don't get rates in place right now, it is important to have rates in place prior to the WIPIA application, which has to be completed in, we have to submit by,
June.
yeah, we are submitting by June, but the latest, I mean, we really want to submit by June, but I think I've talked to her, actually submit. It is important to have a multi-year rate schedule, assuming are putting in place the rates that would support that debt service on that WIPIA loan. So they don't want to go through the underwriting process with WIPIA, you do not have the rates in place that support that debt. And so, you're lining up the rates today to support the debt, and they would be comfortable lending to you if you have the rates in place.
If we take on,
So, what's that?
if we take on the debt.
Sure.
So
but
we
that-
haven't approved that yet.
Right, so what I'm saying is, is this an 8-week delay affect anything? An 8-week delay could affect,
Well,
that
I'll call
scenario.
a special board meeting with there's
Yeah.
directions. But if for whatever reason is presented, then we'll be a special board meeting. I'll call.
yeah, that should be an issue.
So the rate study itself takes about 8 weeks.
We'd like to have like 4 months. We're a little bit behind the 8 ball here, but the good news is that we've done a rate study and it's really just an update. So we should be able to get it done in short order. We're counting on, I mean, right now we're looking at the February board meeting, so, we're already here. So, we'll just do the best we can, I guess.
So it sounds like the finance committee meeting in the meantime, look at the scope and bring it back to the board. So the recommendation.
Would you have the scope ready for this?
Yeah, yes, absolutely.
So we do that.
We understand the scope now because we've already discussed it with the rate consultant. We already have a draft proposal in place. We haven't executed the agreement, so
Third week of January.
was that,
Third week of January.
whatever your timing is, I guess, to get comfortable with the project and then move forward with the rate study, whatever
Well,
time.
it's not my comfort. I have a tremendous amount of comfort.
Okay.
I gotta get, we all have to get everybody else with a level of comfort.
I know I'm not on the finance committee, but if I sit in the audience just to listen in and not say anything, that's acceptable, correct? Just to learn more, because I don't quite, I'm comfortable with the board's expertise, just so I can get comfortable.
I think if the student.
Way in the with an earphone.
I could put you on Zoom and you could do it that way,
There you
maybe. We'll talk about.
Yeah, you can't roll your eyes or go, what?
No, you
Yeah.
can't.
Really? Can't do it.
Okay, any member of the public like to speak on this item? Move on to 10. Board.
I'm sorry, Do we need to?
Yeah.
We need a motion
Motion to continue to the next meeting
to the finance committee,
or to the
No,
finance?
no,
meeting?
actually, let's do it to the next board meeting.
the January 25th.
We take action then, as long, assuming that we have that finance committee, everybody gets.
Okay. Well, I'll make a motion that we just continue to the next meeting.
Second.
Second. Roll
Vice Chair Green,
All right.
Director Miller,
Aye.
Director Mo,
Aye.
Director Walsh,
Aye.
and Chair Harris.
call. All right. Okay. This is 10 meeting, a waiting period. Spelled urban code, blah, 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 blah. So. Did you speak right there? Who's taking this one?
Okay, so yes, 10B is me. Based on the intense demand for the Replenish project, we will, that will be placed on the finance side of the agency and the increased workload to the, due to the WIFIA loan. Not to mention the rate design needed to ensure this project is funded correctly. I am recommending that this board take this opportunity to bring Jennifer back as an extra help annuitant. We have consulted the agency's attorney. They have prepared the documents included in the staff report. These documents ensure that the retiree and the agency are protected to bring her back and before the 180-day waiting period. With that, I would recommend adopting resolution number 13-2022 for the exemption of the 180-day waiting period in accordance with California Government Code section 7522.56 and 21224 to appoint Jennifer McCullar as an extra health retired annuitant position effective January 2nd, 2023. With that, I conclude my presentation and I'm available for any questions.
Board member questions? Yes, ma'am.
Jennifer, I can appreciate your experience. It's probably very valuable at this point in time. My only question is, why would we not do a retirement date of June 2023? And lieu, I understand we're not going to pay benefits and things like that.
That's actually the employee's preference.
Okay.
Does it have to be approved by the CalPERS board? Is it just something the board action has to be on record?
Yeah. Once we take this action, then it'll be forwarded to the CalPERS and they'll approve it. I don't think it takes action from the full board though.
Okay, I don't know the problem. I just know that, you know, the paid annuitants, based on my own personal experience.
Yes.
It's not a slam dunk.
It is not a slam dunk, but it will be, if the board approves this, it will be forwarded to CalPERS for their approval.
Is there any more comments, questions? Questions from the public? Right now, I'll take a motion.
Motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Second, no further discussion, roll call.
Vice Chair Green,
Aye.
Director Miller,
Aye.
Director Mo,
Aye.
Director Walsh,
Aye.
and Chair Harret.
All right. Teddy, which is linked to this, the appropriation is $9,335 for extra help.
Yes, that will be me. Based on your adoption of the previous item, we recommend the board appropriate $79,335 to fund the extra help needed.
Questions? Comments?
Just one, how long do we have you for, Jennifer?
Forever.
960 hours.
That's
Probably not. You probably don't need me for 960
It's my
hours.
fiscal year.
Yes, that's correct.
So that starts at the end of July.
Yeah.
So
So
we
this
can
is for,
really use
this is
it.
for 960 hours. Was that?
We can really use you up quite a bit. For that period of time. Right. Yes, sir.
Some years back, CSD lost their general manager for unknown reasons. And we wrote in the previous water department manager. And that caused great heartache for some people in the community, saying that we were boosting their retirement. Is this two separate things?
Yes.
Retirement and something else? Okay.
Yeah, so this is, the retirement is, that is a retirement period. This is not boosting the retirement, it's actually just based on the agency's need. And if we have a need for expertise, then we can bring back the annuitant just as nothing, the two really don't have anything to do with each other, but I understand. And it doesn't actually affect her retirement fund, it's at all.
It does not affect my pension.
It doesn't affect her pension at all.
Thank you.
This is an example, it's very similar to what we did actually in the city, bringing Jeff Massey back.
Yeah, that's correct.
Questions, thoughts?
Glad you're gonna be around for a while. And I'll bet you appreciate it for a while.
All good.
My only comment to that has always frustrated me is that in government, you have to wait for the position to be vacant before you can fill it. Yeah. So having Jennifer here to pass this on to Christine is fantastic, because there's just so much institutional knowledge that gets lost in that transition.
Questions, comments from the public? None?
I'll motion to approve.
Second.
Vice Chair Green,
Aye.
Director Miller,
Aye.
Director Mo,
Aye.
Director Walsh,
Aye.
Chair Harret.
All right, turn out the schedule budget workshop.
We would like to schedule the budget workshop for the week of March 6th. We just need a date and time. Usually we start between 10 and 2. It usually goes for about 4 hours.
So, Dave, one more time.
The
Sorry.
week of March 6th. So the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, or 10th.
Okay, 6 is CSD meeting.
And 8th is the city council. With our new calendar that uses the city,
Bill up by 2.
so it'd have to be the 7th or 9th or 10th.
But if it's during the day, I'm not to say it couldn't.
We start at 5, and if there's a closed session, we can start at 3.
But I think at that point we'll be on the 8th.
Yes, on the 8th. I would say, please.
To the 6th. Right, or-
It's the 6th through the,
The 10th.
the 6th through the 10th, any of those dates.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
I'm available, so just, you guys work it out.
Tuesday or Thursday, the 7th or the.
Yeah, so I think the 7th.
would work out. I'm clear all week, except one day for CSD.
So March 7th, and at what time would you like to start?
Wide open.
Sometime in the morning.
We can start at 10, we've done that before.
Okay.
We'll bring lunch in.
Yeah.
Are you guys, is everyone comfortable with working lunch?
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Just remember, better the lunch for the harder the ask.
I am not gonna forget that one.
Okay, further discussion on this? Public? Entertain a motion.
Motion to schedule the budget workshop on Tuesday, March 7th, sorry, at 10 a.m.
Second.
Second. Further discussion.
Vice Chair Green,
Aye.
Director Miller,
Aye.
Director Moat,
Aye.
Director Walsh,
Aye.
and Chair Harris.
All right. Okay, item 11A, general manager comments. Governing board comments.
Just want to wish everybody happy holidays and a very happy new year.
Do you have comments?
Good. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, everyone.
Merry Christmas, happy holidays, and I am so glad that this election season is behind. It was one of the messier ones.
I'll just do it, Joe. Any other comments? Yes, so we'll move adjourned.
Yay.